statistically improbable things have to come about through an orderly, comprehensible process. Evolution by natural selection is, I think, the only such process, ultimately, that we know that's capable of doing that. So I wouldn't like to say that evolution by natural selection has got to be going on any planet in the universe where there is life. But something equivalent to it has got to be going on, such that simplicity builds up into complexity by a comprehensible process. You cannot just say, oh, complexity just happened. You can say, maybe hydrogen just happened, because hydrogen is relatively simple. But what you can't say is something complicated enough to, shall we say, design the laws of physics, or design life, or design a bird's wing. Something complicated enough to think that out is the very kind of thing which is not just going to happen spontaneously. And when you think about it, creationists use exactly that argument themselves when they say something as complicated as an eye or a bacterial flagellum couldn't just happen by chance. Well, of course it couldn't. That's why we need natural selection. And by the same token, exactly, God couldn't just happen.
Okay. It's an interesting idea that I think I've encountered somewhere in your works, that you pose the idea, and I feel the need to issue that health warning again, that this is not something that you're claiming as true. You might like to just confirm that in your answer. That it's possible that elsewhere in the universe, beings could have evolved to such an extent that they might even appear godlike to us if we were ever to encounter them.
Yes, I mean, when I say I don't believe in God, somebody might say to me, well, how do you know there's not some superlatively complicated and intelligent godlike being orbiting Alpha Centauri, who would be so obviously godlike that were we ever to meet this character or those characters, we would fall on our knees and worship them. And I think that's perfectly plausible. I think if you think about it, if we could fly in a Boeing 747 to the Middle Ages or to the Dark Ages and suddenly land by the side of an Anglo-Saxon village, I mean, they would undoubtedly think we were gods, and they'd fall down and worship us. By the same token, that I bet there are somewhere in the universe, because the universe is so large, I bet that somewhere in the universe there are beings even more advanced relative to us than we are advanced relative to a Dark Age Anglo-Saxon peasant. And so we probably would fall on our knees and worship them. But they would not be gods in the sense of things that have just happened spontaneously. They themselves would have had to have come into existence via either evolution or something like evolution, which has the same property of building up complexity step by step through slow, gradual degrees from primordial simplicity. They've had a long time to do it. It's only taken life on this planet about 3.5 to 4 billion years to evolve to our level of technology. There's about 14 billion years in the universe as a whole to play with. And so there's been plenty of time for superior technologies to develop. They might well be godlike, but they would not be gods in the sense that they would not have been there from the start. They would have come about through slow, gradual degrees. Intelligence, creativity, design, complexity, these are things that all come late into the universe. They cannot exist right from the start.
And could alien advanced beings of that kind possibly have created life on Earth?
Well, this is a speculation that actually the great Francis Crick mentioned, I think somewhat tongue-in-cheek. He, at the end of one of his books, he talked about an idea that he and his colleague Leslie Orgel had called directed panspermia. And the idea is that bacterial life on Earth was seeded in the nose cone of a rocket that was sent from some distant planet, perhaps by an alien civilization that didn't wish its form of life to go extinct and therefore wished to propagate its form of life, which, according to the speculation, was a DNA protein-based form of life. So this alien civilization stuffed the nose cone of a rocket with bacteria and launched it into space. It crash-landed on Earth and started life here. Now, Crick and Orgel, I think, were speculating in a sort of tongue-in-cheek way. They were acknowledging that the origin of life on this planet is a very difficult problem that hasn't been solved. Leslie Orgel himself is one of the leading workers on that topic. And it just seemed reasonable to them to be open to the possibility that life might have originated elsewhere. But even that speculation, of course, doesn't absolve us from the responsibility to think of a way in which life could have originated somewhere in the universe. It just gives rather more time. It gives us 14 billion years rather than only 4 billion years for that to happen. Actually, it's not 4 billion because, of course, life originated sometime before we see the first bacterial fossils, which is about 3.5 billion years. And Earth itself is only 4.6 billion years old.
But you're not suggesting, are you, that that actually is how
No,
it
I don't
is?
believe that for a moment. I mean, I think life did originate on this planet, and we have a responsibility to try to think out how. But I don't think we need to resort to such a outlandish hypothesis as directed panspermia, but it's up to us, to all scientists, to be open-minded.